6 main priorities for the Southeast Pima County Community Family Resource Center. And so meeting basic needs, so this would be much of the work that happens at resources along with other basic needs. Workforce development, so all of those things that we can do to upskill someone into either a higher paying job or into the employment workforce. Agency workspace, this would be us partnering with other established agencies that already exist in Pima County and are doing really good work. But to get there, you've got to drive so far, and in your current situation of difficulty or struggle, find it to be out of reach. And so the idea is providing a space for those organizations to come serve our community here, rather than reinventing the wheel. Wraparound supports for some of our older adult population, places for social activities, places for classes and learning, just a lot of opportunities there. And then serving individuals with disabilities, so helping people get enrolled in DDD, programming that benefits adults and children with disabilities, and early childhood support. So how do we wrap around families who have young children, helping them through some of those things that maybe it would be really helpful to bring together a group of people who are like me with this toddler, struggling with what I'm struggling with, and supporting each other. So that's kind of what that would look. So this is what we envisioned, along with many of our community members, which we'll talk about in just a little while, as our areas of priority. But first we want to kind of give you what got us started on this journey. So we can go ahead and go forward to the next slide. So I want to give a chance to talk to you about some of the changing conditions in our community as related to Greater Vail Community Resources. What are we seeing happening in our community? And so I just want to share some information with you. Can you go ahead and go forward to the next slide? Not too long ago, I did a presentation to Seac, and we had a chance to kind of go over some of these numbers. Right here, I have projected where we should finish in 2025 if we just serve the average amount of people per month that we have served so far this year. It does not take into account that every year in November and December, we have a significant jump over the rest of the year. So this number will probably end up being higher. So taking that out of the equation, between these 4 years, it's a 22% year over year growth in our emergency food program. And so there has been a concentrated effort to grow awareness of our programs and make sure families are aware that this is available. And so, you know, that is part of it. But the other part of it is just the changing conditions that you all are feeling every time you go to the grocery store, every time you fill up your gas tank. These are the things that are pushing people over the edge that were previously doing okay. And now they just tipped right over the edge. Let's go ahead and go forward to the next slide. There we go. I think this is it. So some of the current developments, go back one. So some of the current developments is in July, we served more individuals than any other month previous in our history by quite a bit. The number of households was 745. Our average household is about 660. So that's a huge jump in our average. So we're going to go here, number 4. It only wants to go forward and not back. So let me see if I can pull up some of those other things that I wanted. In the last 2 months, our homebound meals program has added 8 new individuals, which is a significant jump for us. Usually we would add 1 or 2 here and there, and just over the last 2 months, 8 new individuals. And these are homebound seniors that are experiencing some sort of need to have very easily preparable foods and are isolated in their homes. And let's see, I'm going to do my cheat sheet so we can keep rolling and pull up our There we go. I got to get on the Wi-Fi here and agree to this. Sorry for the delay. There we go. The other thing is we're preparing to serve 800 holiday meals this holiday season, just based on the percentage of increase that we have seen in our emergency food program. We want to be prepared to serve that many people. And wanted to share with you a story of a woman who came to see us. I am flitting in and out of the food bank on a regular basis, doing what I do, which is a lot of outreach. And I happened to come upon a woman who just happened to walk up and greet her for the first time. And I asked how she was, and she shared with me she was not okay. And I tried to reassure her, and she said, "No, I'm not okay." And I had to stop in my tracks and go, "Hey, look, I've got a person here with me who needs some help." And so as she told me her story, loved her daughter and her family dearly, and her daughter had made some difficult choices that maybe that was putting her grandchildren in danger. And she had already lost her 4 older grandchildren into the foster care system and has no contact with them. Wears a necklace every day to remember each of them and hold them near to her heart. And she was determined to not lose these 2. She sold everything she had back east, flew out here, got a house in the Vail School District area because she wanted her grandchildren to be safe and have a good education. And after she paid all of her deposits and her rent, she had nothing left. And she's like, "I need food today to feed my grandchildren." And so while we have people who are also tipping over the edge, we also have families who are just always living on that edge. And this grandmother who was determined to care for her grandchildren saw our community as a place that would care for them. And I wanted to come up alongside her and provide her so much more that day. But all I could give her was a food box and say, "Come back and see me next week," and a list of phone numbers to call. And a family resource center right here in our community where I could send her, where we could bring in some of those other pieces of support to wrap around their family as they're going through this kind of wild transition. Make sure those kids are okay. Make sure grandma's okay. Make sure daughter's okay. Maybe we have addiction services available right here in our community that could help her too. So those are the stories that are propelling us forward to be able to help families here in our community instead of just hoping they can get somewhere over there to find that help. And that's what we are working on as a community. Yes. So one of our biggest, and I've talked to this group before, one of our biggest struggles is space. We've got food stuffed in every nook and cranny. We don't have space for additional programs. We bring a lot of food in so that we can put a lot of food out. And so it's like a constant churn, in and then out and in and then out, and not a lot of space for more. And so part of this effort has been looking at, where is there a space in our community that this kind of an effort of wraparound supports could happen. And so that is one of the reasons that the resources board members, Ev Campbell is here. She is one of our board members for Greater Vail Community Resources. And they voted to partner with the Family Resource Center to be one of the anchor partner agencies. And so as we go through this process and we talk about the Family Resource Center, know that Resources, Greater Vail Community Resources, is a partner in that, one of those partners that will wrap around families to provide those supports. So now I want to give it over to Heather, and she will talk a little bit more.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Stough. I'm the Director of Community Connections and Student Supports for the district. I've been with the district for 20 years, and part of the role of our department is to provide supports for families who just need that additional layer of need. And so with that, we collect some data that we look at to just kind of look at the changing conditions. And so the data that I'm going to show you is school district data. But what's nice is that we can extrapolate that data to show some community needs. And so one of the main ways that we look at just sort of the economic status of the needs of the families that we serve is by free and reduced lunch numbers. And so if you turn it one more slide, can you go one more? Okay, go ahead and go back. So these are the number of students who are categorized as receiving free or reduced lunch across the district. And you'll see in 1920, so we wanted to show you some pre-pandemic numbers. There were about 3,400 children who were receiving free and reduced lunch. And then we did not collect data for 2021 or 21-22 because for those 2 years, lunch was free for all students during those pandemic years. And so then 22-23 is the year that families needed to start paying again. So we were sort of on-ramping those families to collect. They have to fill out pretty significant form to be able to receive those services. So then the true numbers for where we are now are 23-24 and 24-25. So you can see it's around 4,300 and then around 4,500. But just to give this some context, for a family of 4 to qualify for free lunch, their household income is at $40,000 or less. And then to qualify for reduced, it's between $40,000 and $60,000. And the vast majority of the families that are qualifying for free and reduced are qualifying for free. So, so if you go to the next slide, it's about right now a third of our students in the Vail School District qualify, most of them, for free lunch. So that's saying that about a third of our families, their household income for a family of 4 is $40,000 or less. And that is a big shift for our community. And I think if you think of the public perception of Vail as a community as a whole, it's not that a third of our families are making, families of 4 are making $30,000 or less. And so when we brought all of this data together, it was actually just a moment for us as a district of how the community has shifted and how we need to make sure that we're sharing this outside the walls of the district, to make sure that we are all aware of the changing needs of our community. And if you look, so the Vail School District average is about 1 in 3 of the children that we serve, but there are higher pockets across our community. So Acacia Elementary is right here on Colossal Cave, like right by the railroad tracks. Desert Sky, Mesquite, Cottonwood, and Desert Willow are all in one concentrated area, and that's Rita Ranch. And so we're seeing sort of the highest numbers across the board in the Rita Ranch area. And then also you'll see Vail Academy and High School, which is along the 10. Like if you're getting off on Kolb, that school is right there. And then Pantano High School is our credit recovery high school, and that's along Houghton Road. So just wanted to give you sort of that context. I think it's really important to pay attention to what these numbers mean when it comes to, you know, that $40,000 household income for a family of 4. They're approaching, and they're increasing every day. We were going through some data with the University of Arizona, as you know, been trying to pull more data for the Family Resource Center, and this woman lived in Rita Ranch. She's like, no, those numbers can't be right. But that's my neighborhood. No, that's the new reality. And so I think it's just an awareness and a perspective shift for all of us who have lived and served here for a long period of time. So go to the next slide. There's my slide I was looking for. It finally caught up. So there you can see those free meals is to qualify as $41,000 or less, and then the reduced is between that 41 and 59. So it can really be a good indicator that we can extrapolate across the county. What is also interesting is the Vail School District is 425 square miles, and we serve between 25 to 30% of those 425 square miles because those are the families who have school-age children. So there's also another 80%, you know, that are not being accounted for. But I think this really shows some trends, especially in different sort of high-need pockets of the community. So any questions on that?
Okay. Let me just build on that. Resources to qualify for emergency food, that a reduced price meals amount listed there is the same thing that it would be for a family of 4. So emergency food would kick in at that income level. Emergency food is really designed to be the first line of defense the community has when a family becomes destabilized. It's not designed to wait until families are starving, right? So as soon as they're shifting a little, we're going to come up alongside with food because that's something we've got a lot of here in our country, and we can build that in and support, and hopefully that's all the help that they'll need, right? And then other supports can wrap in depending on the scenario, but that is the income level for emergency food as well.
Yeah. And another metric that we look at is our McKinney-Vento numbers. And those are, it's a homeless assistance program that ensures that children and youth experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity in one way or the other have those supports to be able to get to school and to be able to, you know, have school supplies, extracurricular activities, all of those pieces. And so back in 21, 22, we had about 20 kids that we were coding as McKinney-Vento. And now in 24, 25, that number has gone up to 120. And so you can see between the 22, 23 and the 23, 24 school year, we had a 77% increase in that. So it's just another gauge that needs are increasing. And these are some of our most vulnerable families. And it could be that they're living with another family member. It could be that they're in a shelter. There are a lot of different scenarios that would qualify children to receive these supports. And then we have about 20 of those 120, and these are numbers from last year, and it sort of incrementally goes up as we are able to identify more children that can receive these services. We are already at 107, this is our 6th week into the school year. So most likely our numbers will be higher than last year. Then we also have 20 children in our community who are identified as unaccompanied youth, which means they are high school students who are truly on their own, probably living in a shelter or living in an apartment, so they're not with their families. So, and those numbers we're seeing, I think they started at 5 in 21-22, and now are up to about 20. So we're just seeing the needs increasing, and so these numbers are what really spurred me to advocate for a family resource center. Because right now we are providing every support possible, from our lane and as is Callie, but giving them a food basket or helping them with Christmas gifts through Angel Tree isn't getting them out of the situation that we're in. We want to get our families and our children back on their feet. And so we're sort of putting Band-Aids on things right now that we can, but we want to give these families hope and long-term solutions. So these numbers are my catalyst to advocate for this so that we can truly wrap around these families and get them the proper supports that they need and deserve. So I'm going to turn it over to Callie just to give you a little more context on what a family resource center is.
So a family resource center can really be defined by the community that it helps in, and targeting a real set is in the community. Turn that back on. Oh, I see. It's trying to escape. And I'm off mute. So Family Resource Center is can meet the needs of the individual community that it's in. And I talked a little bit earlier about how the Sarita community has come to develop their Family Resource Center. They have one of their major components is that 0 to age 5 component. And being right next to Green Valley, you might think, well, maybe they should do some robust older adult programming. But there are so many organizations in Green Valley who are nailing that, and they don't need to do that. But can you think of an organization here that's doing that? No. And think about your community, your neighbors. Only 25% at most is involved with the school district, having kids 0 to age 18. We have significantly more people in our community that are in that older adult age range. So as a community, we could envision including programs such as that. It is a place that is open and welcoming to all who would need those services. And typically these are kinds of services that would be available at no cost or very low cost. The idea is to wrap around the family in a whole way. And so if we're having a mom come in that has a 2-year-old and we're going to do some maybe dexterity training classes for helping toddlers learn, their hand-eye coordination and things like that. We may have a conversation with mom and find out that she's got a teenager that could use some mental health support. And so maybe there's an aspect of our Family Resource Center that loops in some of that piece. And then we find out that grandma lives with them and she's isolated and just is feeling pretty alone, and she's new to the community and she doesn't know how to meet anybody. And so maybe we wrap grandma in with some social programming and an opportunity to volunteer and get involved in the community. And so now we have just wrapped around each generation of that family to come up alongside and support them in the different ways that they need. And when people come in, that is the opportunity to have that whole conversation and kind of assess what are those needs that you have. And as you continue to develop the relationship, you often discover there's more ways to plug in. And a Family Resource Center can be flexible enough for a community to be able to find those ways to do that. And so that's what we are envisioning as a committee. So we gathered, we've held 4 community meetings so far with about 60 different individuals involved. And at each of those meetings, we spent time discussing what are the needs that we're seeing in our community that are not being met here in our community, and coming up with some of those prioritized areas of need. And then we also have spent some time going through a guiding principles process. So on your paper handout, you see this guiding principles ... That is empty on purpose because we are really truly asking our community to help us build those guiding principles. We just had a visioning meeting last week. They gave us some feedback, and we're working on our first iteration of guiding principles to bring back to that community group and give some more feedback. So we are really interested in gathering community input. We don't want to be making some of these decisions in our own lanes and maybe with some of our own biases or blind spots. Like I just never thought about that, right? So we're bringing everybody together to do that work with us. And so that's one of the reasons that we're here presenting with you today. And so I'd like to turn the time over to Heather to take you through an opportunity for us to gain your feedback.
Sure, yeah, we've been talking at you guys for a while, which I don't like to do for a very long time. And so Callie already shared with you that these needs came from those 60 people. And so we spent 2 full meetings putting all the needs on the table, and then we have now pared it down to these needs. But we're still trying to gain community input on the top priorities for us, because this is something that we're going to have to start small with and then grow. And so I'm just going to ask you to get into groups of about 4. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you can turn it to the next slide, we're going to ask for your feedback on questions you can't read because the screen is off. So the first one is, of these categories, which 2 areas are most important to your group? And I really want you to base this on what you're seeing, the needs of maybe yourself, someone in your family, your neighbors, the folks you interact with, and you have those 5 or 6 listed on your sheet as well. So if you don't mind, you can maybe turn around the people behind you, and we can have maybe 3 groups of 4. And so I'm going to ask you to get up, maybe turn chairs around, and then, or you can come with people at your table. Just to reflect on what we've talked about. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on the data that we shared. And then also, if you were to delineate and give us advice on the top 2 needs that we should focus on first, what would they be? So I'll give you about 10 minutes to discuss, and then we'll bring you back together.
I'm gonna find a chair. Come on down this way. Oh, I should have just stayed on that side, I guess. Huh? I should have just stayed on that side, I guess. You can squish down a little more. Okay. Got it.
That chair is moving. That's my musical chairs.
Where's the music?
Do you guys have any questions about like definitions or understanding the different priority areas?
No,
Okay, if you have a question, holler. We'll come over and explain it the best we can.
I was just saying that I just was living in Vail is started by senior citizens. There is no senior center, and we've had some little delinquent problems not dealt with, of course, but safe way for the kids to do after school.
There is no place for them to be.
Yeah. No, so.
I mean, I would just say, from the post office, part of what we're planning at building is to have programs for older students. So we try to always have a youth member on our board, and that's what they have expressed, so we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I think this series is
But
great.
it's a huge need. I would say the other is individuals with disabilities.
Well, they're kind of in the same category. It may not be senior citizen, but it's still, they're an isolated group. And that's what brought me here today,
Yeah, well,
to learn more on them, because that's what I see in my own neighborhood. And I see the older, especially after they've lost a spouse, it's become extremely isolated. And
we're the support for seniors.
in the original rocking chair behind the general store off on Spanish Trail. Yes. Oh, yeah, Ann and I go back right there.
Yeah.
Started that store.
I love that place.
Yes.
What's your name?
Terry Helen.
Oh, no, I'm serious. You need to do another.
Well, and you are,
J.J. Lamb.
yeah, yes, and I have spoken to you on occasion over the many years.
Oh,
that
okay,
It
well,
broke my heart when they tore down the school building across the street. The old school.
they didn't tell me that.
I mean, it was in bad shape. They
I
did
had-
tear it down.
Couldn't we have taken the wood, the building materials?
It was well beyond that.
Well, I would have donated my backyard or something to someplace to just say, or your backyard. Along with everything else.
There's not much room left in my yard.
Or my house, the fact that you were not. Yeah. But, you know,
Well, there's a reason for that.
when you mentioned, or shelters, where are these kids? Where is the nearest shelter?
In town, there's none here.
So they have to get transportation back to.
And the McKinney-Vento is federal funding, so we receive that, and then we can help to pay for the transportation of the student so that they can stay in their home school and have that educational consistency. Yeah. And then trying to get them a more long-term solution. So if they're, teens, then trying to get them a job and, you know, some sort of affordable housing that could get them out of.
I worked for City of Goodyear, and we had teens just sleeping on the lounges in pools at hotels. I mean, that was their nighttime, that's where they slept, they jumped the walls, and that's just where it's. But we also put in schools washer and dryers in the high school, so the kids could at least get some money, and it's just shocking.
Well, there's lots of reasons. I'll just say that ability for a student to stay in their school. So my oldest daughter has MS, and then she was in a car accident, and it was terrible. And I was staying over there, way over on Roger Road. But the principal at her school, so I'm sure it's the same kind of funding. There was no bus that came there. Marlene was transporting her. Anyway, there's only so much everybody can do time-wise, and to keep track of Marlene's health and all that. Anyway, they paid for a taxi to come and pick Chloe up every morning, and they brought them home.
Yeah.
And so I'm here to say that kind of stuff makes a huge difference. There's all kinds of things that happen to people. Sometimes it's short term, but those bridges are really important.
They really are.
Yeah,
Saw that
because,
benefit in your family.
yeah, otherwise that student is just totally, I don't know, disconnected.
They need that
And it
sense of normalcy and consistent, and they need to graduate from high school.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to get them to that finish line. Like, we had students graduating last year, and she had gotten pregnant as a very young teen, took 2 years off of school, finally convinced her to come back. She graduated, was the valedictorian of her class at Santana High School, and she walked across the stage with her 2-year-old. You know, and now she's working for community programs. She's working for the district and is supporting herself. And so it's just, there's some really incredible success stories that these supports are needed to get them to the finish line.
Without those bridges, those people's lives could really be basically at an end.
Right. Yeah. And so it just, and that's all of these pieces. I just want them to be hopeful that people can get out of the hard things that they've been dealt and be able to thrive. Yeah. There's just, I feel like there was a little bit of luck in my life and a little bit of support from other people to get me where I am today.
Well, I think Chloe was in second grade when all this happened, but she still remembers. That's a very significant memory for her.
Yeah.
That there was this larger community, you know, family and the school that came together.
And that's what makes Vail Vail. I think about even my kids in 6th and 8th grade, how many people came alongside them already to support them and are growing them into who they are. Like, we just rally around our people.
Well, I'm thinking too about, you know, like maybe special needs children.
If somebody can be prepared to share your top 2, and I'm going to give you 2 stickers, and I'm going to ask you to put stickers on the areas that you see as the highest need. I was carrying,
I mean, to me, this is another huge one.
She's saying something about stickers.
Yes, she was. She's gonna have to say it again.
We have to do our 1 and our 2.
We have to do it 3 times.
when you're ready, I'm going to ask someone from your group to stand up and walk to the poster over on the wall and put a sticker on the right side by the area that you all see the highest need with. Your 2 areas that are most important to your group, whenever you're ready.
I'm probably serving individuals with disabilities, because that is needed.
Which one?
I think both of them. Because the basic needs are getting it pretty much anyway, but more of these 2.
When you think about like children and, well, I have to say, trying to take care of somebody with dementia, really take control.
But you know what's interesting, that meeting basic needs, they put domestic violence on. Wow, I wouldn't have put it there. I'm thinking food, clothing, shelter, but it's amazing.
Okay, if you can make your way over to the poster and vote for your top 2, just one person from your table. Poster is right over here. You can just put stickers. Actually, let's do them over here.
I don't know that one of these is more important than the other. I'm not sure.
I think to me, the basic needs are the first thing that get met.
Yes.
So putting
Which is
benefits
food, clothing, nothing,
Yeah.
and for elderly people, it's socialization.
No, just getting food. Yeah.
Talking in this area, I really think it's the seniors and disabilities. Because those are things that are not, nope, not me.
I think you're really qualified.
Not me. Okay, you have been nominated there.
We support your decision.
Yes, we do.
Did everybody put their stickers up? You're still deciding? Okay.
We're behind you 100%, whatever you decide.
I know. And it doesn't mean we're going to scratch them out. It just means that we need to prioritize as we grow it, and just helps us to decide what might come first. Wait, what is that? What does that mean? What does this mean?
We felt those two were
These two. Oh, okay, they're tethered. Okay. So what I'm going to ask is that we know where you voted. So it looks like some of our top votes are around support for senior citizens, providing agency workspace, and then we have the double dots in between, connecting, serving individuals with disabilities. Then we have one for early childhood and one for meeting basic needs. So we really appreciate the input because these are hard decisions to make. I heard a lot of you say, I cannot decide. We need all 6 of these in our community. And know that our group completely agrees with that, but we are needing to prioritize. Can I just ask that each group share a little bit about why they chose what they chose? Krisha, can I start with your group? Can you talk a little bit about why you chose what you chose?
Oh, I'm bringing the,
Oh, we're bringing you a mic.
and this is not necessarily for us, it's for the people at home. I'm not sure who's going to speak.
Very interesting, okay. So we had an active discussion, like you were just saying, Heather, about we don't want any of these to go away from the list. But we did see that talk about providing agency workspace really is sort of the umbrella under which all the other things are possible. Because if we have a space for each one of these entities to come together, then that would make it a lot easier. And then we just talked about support for senior citizens because of the startling statistic that only 25% of people in our area have kids that are in school, and we're so identified with the school. It's a great school, so nothing taken away from that, but just there's so many people that aren't. And so just senior citizens, there are seniors communities, a couple of people live in a couple of them now, Del
Right.
Lago, Academy Village, et cetera, but there's so many, most of the communities around here are not HOAs like that. So something for people that live in the area but don't, aren't in one of those specific
Right,
areas.
and we have we have an epidemic of loneliness. There's so many people that are not connected. And then, what was the first? The agency workspace. So what they did. How we foresee ourselves, and I don't think we share this, is that we want to sort of be the mortar between all of the bricks. So we don't foresee the 501c3 of our Family Resource Center directly providing services, but we want to be the catalyst in the available space for incredibly competent and amazing nonprofits that already exist in the community to be able to hold space here so that our families don't have to go to 5 different agencies in Midtown and beyond to be able to receive the support that they need. So, Ms. Table?
Okay. So we put first as meeting the basic needs. The reason being is that you ain't going anywhere unless you got a place to live and you got a car to drive or somewhere to get there, and you got to have food in your belly.
Right.
So, you know, and you've got to have the support for all that. So, I mean, that's kind of your first basic needs is number one. And then we had number 2 as the early childhood support, mainly because this early childhood, that's the future of our country.
Right.
And our city and our counties and everything else. And you have young adults having kids, and you end up having, you know, your postpartum depression stuff and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, these young people need support.
Right.
And so you've got young kids growing up, and it's like Thomas was saying, you have kids raising themselves because you have parents that are holding 2 and 3 jobs just to pay to have those basic needs.
Right.
So those were our 2.
Now you think
Because-
about the woman who came into resources, and you know she's bringing in exactly what rent is. Then you know who knows how many jobs she's working, and you know trying to make
Well,
just
and then-
meeting those basic needs in other
And
areas.
you look at how many kids are, you know, on the lunch program, of
Right.
either a free lunch or a reduced cost for lunch. So you start looking at those things, and you know it's pretty prevalent as to what we need. You know, with some of the other ones, we kind of went back and forth because a lot of those already had services that provide for that.
Right.
And it's not, may not be right here in Vail, but they're already there. Whereas we need to start taking care of our own first, meaning our town of Vail, and take care of meeting the basic needs, feeding these kids, providing what they need, and then the childhood support.
Right.
Get them the education they need, where they're not, you know, they don't turn around to be youth on their own.
Right. If we can intervene early.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And that's the goal, is, you know, to try to intervene early and take care of those basic needs, and then work on those long-term solutions for families. But you're right, we have to take care of those basic needs first. And that's what makes Vail special, is we do take care of our own and we do support each other. And this is just one more area that we can come together to be able to provide those supports. So thank you. Coming back here. JJ, I guess it's you. Oh, she's passing the baton. It's still in your hands, JJ. I think it's solidly you.
Okay. So, you can see our little dots up there. We think there's, a big connection. Those basic needs, those rise to the top and they're taken care of. But there's a lot of senior citizens, who are lonely, who are not able to take care of themselves. So that's a real need, and probably it's really hidden. And if they don't have family around, that's going to be really hard. I just think about my mother and my aunt that I took care of for years. If there hadn't been family around, quite frankly, I don't know what would have happened to them. So there's people out there, and so we think that's a really high priority. And then serving individuals with disabilities and getting those services that they need. When there are children with disabilities, or you're taking care of an adult with disabilities, that impacts the entire family. And so getting the services that they need is really, really critical to the person with disabilities, to their quality of life, but also that impacts the quality of life of their entire family.
Yeah,
So
truly.
we think that's another really critical need.
Yeah, some more of those silent hidden needs that may be in the community and not being addressed. Yeah.
Well, and those are other things that really can be out of sight, because if you're taking care of people with those disabilities, sometimes you can't even leave the house.
Right?
I mean, even getting groceries is a challenge.
Yeah. And both of those communities deserve, both of those groups of people in our community deserve a community. And so to be able to wrap them into those,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this idea, great.
Yeah, well, and I'll just add in another thing that's been on my mind that, you know, as a historian, is that collecting the oral histories of some of those senior citizens. You know, I think that really makes someone feel like their lives have mattered, that their story matters.
Right.
And, you know, that's a huge morale boost.
Oh, we need to talk to you about that, JJ. That's a great idea, just to honor them.
It's a real way to
Give them
honor.
purpose. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. And our last group, ladies.
We chose the senior citizens, because, you know, we're there. And, and also providing agency workspace, and like you spoke to, I referred to it as an umbrella, because we need this place to go when we're trying to navigate some of these things in life. So all of these, I see that as an umbrella for all of this. Where do I go? And who can I talk to face, not which website, which phone call. And even, you know, to get some of these services, or if you're a caregiver, you know, she spoke to just some of the challenges for caregivers, the not being able to leave your house. You know, we're round 2 with parents with Alzheimer's. So it's real, but just you also need navigators for filling out those. You may qualify for services, but you don't know how. You know, you've got to know all the tricks to get a VA claim. You know, or find out you hear that, well, they'll turn you down the first time, but don't worry, because this is what you need to do next. And so I think just providing a place for people, you know, maybe it's legal, maybe it's people that just these, I see it as a navigator, that are like, okay, you're in this situation, here's where you go next.
Right.
Here's the next right thing to do. So I think this is a great idea, and I love the idea of a community center with all, you know, the whole community. So I'm glad you're visiting Sahuarita, because to me, that's a community that's kind of, you know, they have some great ideas.
They do.
And it's, cool. So
Thank you.
it's exciting.
Well, your feedback has been priceless for us as we move forward. I had a couple people ask, well, do you have money yet? And where are you going to build it? And so we are very early in the stages, and we're probably about 6 months into our journey. And we probably see this as a 3 to 5 year journey. Our dream would be to hold some space actually right here in this area, because it's right along Marianne Cleveland, it's close to Houghton Road. So if we're advocating for space right now, that is what we're hopeful for. We received our 501c3 status, we are applying for our first grants, and so we're walking down the path, and we just will continue to share our vision with more community members and build that momentum. I shared in our first community meeting that it was very perfect that we were sitting here in this library on Marianne Cleveland Road, because I don't know if everyone knows this, but our community advocated for years to get this road. We had this incredibly beautiful high school called Cienega that was being built and no road to get to it. And so there was a woman named Marianne Cleveland, along with a ton of other community members, who advocated hard for a long period of time to just get this road built. And then we're sitting in this library, and I would be remiss if I didn't honor, I'm going to do it, Anne, who advocated also with another large group of community members to get our library. I mean, it took her 8 to 10 years and hundreds of hours of advocating and bringing in community members and sharing her vision. And here we are along Marianne Cleveland Road, sitting in W. Ann Gibson Library. And so these are the community member shoulders that we're standing on, who have set the path for how you get things done in Vail. And so we're proud to be on that journey and, sharing that path of our mentors here. And now we're advocating for our Family Resource Center with our changing conditions. This is what we need next. And so thank you for being a part of the vision. We have our next community meeting. I think we talked a little bit about next steps. We can keep going. On October 16th, and it will be here in this room, and it's at 5 o'clock. We would love for all of you to join us and just keep adding to the community members who are willing to roll up our sleeves and make this vision a reality. So there's a QR code, or I can share my information with Anne. You just want to email me and let me know that you'll be joining us. But we're just super excited that you were willing to share in this vision with us and could possibly join us on next steps. So thank you so much for having us. Anne, did you want to wrap up?
Yes, I want to thank you and Callie. I'm not sure how I'm going to get out of this chair.
Do you know? There you go.
See, you work hard enough at it. I was negligent before, and I want to be sure that I do thank Elaine
Murphy, who came today to help us. And of course, Gerald, we love him dearly. He comes every single time. He's still waiting for us to pay him. And someday, and someday we will. But I thank you all very, very much. I will tell you, I was very nervous that nobody was going to come. Not because you weren't interested in this, but there's so much going on, and it used to be that there was never anything else going on, and now there is. But thank you very, very much for coming. And JJ Lamb is here, and she is the CEO for the Vail Preservation Society. I can get it, it just takes me a few minutes to get it out.
Hey, everybody, just a quick, just because we talked about it a little bit during this meeting, thought that I would share Tuesday, September 23rd, right here in this room. Pima Council on Aging is having an attorney come out and do a presentation about Arizona's long-term care system, Altex. And so if you or you know somebody in our community that needs help navigating that system, this will be a great free presentation for the community. That is going to be from 3 to 4 p.m. on September 23rd. Resources will be publishing this out on the local community forums. I'm sure Seac will share it as well as an important community resource. But this is one of those important community resources that can be really difficult to navigate. And so it's really helpful to have an expert right here in our community kind of give a presentation and be able to ask questions. So please share that with anyone that you feel like could use that information. All right, thanks everybody.